I always love talking about mismatched or bizarre tours, and I've previously talked about the Courtney Marilyn Manson tour of the late 90s, the time Nine Inch Nails opened for Guns N' Roses and was booed off stage, or the time the Beastie Boys opened for Madonna. The links to all those videos are down below. But today I want to talk about another strange touring combo, and that was the time that rap group Public Enemy toured with British goth rocker Sisters of Mercy. The tour was such a controversial one that some promoters didn't want to touch it, and it would unravel partway through. Today, let's check out what happened. In 1991, the US economy was going through a recession and the concert industry was struggling. It resulted in promoters trying to put together package tours to entice consumers to come to live shows. And here's an MTV report discussing what was happening at the time.
Plenty of bands went out on tour this year, but not a lot of people came to see them. Ticket sales plummeted at least 25% this summer, the season in which concert promoters traditionally do most of their business. A lot of them blame the recession.
Everybody that is alive in the United States of America is feeling the bite of the recession.
Acts are just dying. Concerts are dying all over the country. This is the worst summer for concerts I've ever seen.
Many promoters hope that package tours featuring several acts at a bargain price might bring out the crowd.
1991 was also the same year that Lollapalooza launched, and it offered concertgoers the chance to see a wide range of acts in an open-air space, including the likes of Nine Inch Nails, Jane's Addiction, and Ice-T's Body Count. Moss Jacobs, who was the general manager of Avalon Attractions, the company who produced Lollapalooza, would tell the LA Times, "We've seen a number of cases in the last 18 months where so-called headliners come out with unknown support acts and fall on their faces. Of course, the recession is hurting us, but one of the biggest problems is that the concert industry has not offered the public much of anything new for years," he'd say. The only thing that the concert industry was offering consumers at the time was higher ticket prices. The average cost of a ticket in 1991 was set to be $23 US, and the increase in ticket prices was blamed on both the artists and, of course, Ticketmaster with their service charges, something I've talked in a lot more detail about in regards to their feud with Pearl Jam. The link to that video is down below. Not only would heavyweights in a specific genre tour together like Guns N' Roses and Skid Row, but artists from completely different genres could also tour together, sometimes referred to as mix and match tours. That's where the Sisters of Mercy and Public Enemy tour started. Sisters of Mercy had established a pretty solid fan base in Europe and were playing bigger venues in the continent than in America. In order for Sisters of Mercy to play similar sized venues across the pond, they needed a strong supporting act. Frontman Andrew Eldritch would tell the LA Times in 1991, "We wanted to play bigger places like we do in Europe, so we looked around to see who was available to build a bigger show around, and lo and behold, Public Enemy was available." Eldritch considered himself a fan of Public Enemy, telling the Sun Sentinel in 1991, "Unlike most hip-hop acts or disco acts, they actually stand for something. Their message is not external to the music. They're just another kind of rock band. It's all rock and roll," he would say. Meanwhile, Chuck D would tell Rolling Stone the same year ahead of the tour, "When's the last time you went to a concert and were shocked? Rarely does the crowd get effing taken aback by combination," he'd say. Named the Tune In, Turn On, Burn Out rock and rap tour, the tour would see several other acts joining them, including the UK post-punk outfit Gang of Four, hard rock band Warrior Soul, and an up-and-coming rap group named Young Black Teenagers. The plan was for a 19-city tour through the summer of 1991, and I want to note that another publication claimed the tour was supposed to be 21 dates. The idea was for Public Enemy and Sisters of Mercy to have equal performing time on stage, and the tour presented an interesting opportunity. It would allow both groups to reach an audience they likely wouldn't reach otherwise. While to a lot of American observers the tour pairing seemed odd, for Sisters of Mercy it wasn't. Eldritch would tell the Christian Science Monitor in 1991, "From a European point of view, it's a much more normal thing. It's sad that it takes a recession in America for promoters to start thinking of these packages." Eldritch would point out that when the band started playing gigs in London in their early days, they usually shared the bill with a reggae band. While Public Enemy and Sisters of Mercy saw the tour as an opportunity to break down barriers, some markets wouldn't bite. With Eldritch telling the Christian Science Monitor, "There were certain towns, certain cities in America on this tour where we couldn't find a house manager who was prepared to put both bands on the same venue on the same night. We couldn't find a single venue in Detroit that would put both bands on the same night. This is the city that gave birth to Motown, but the hall would not let us play with Public Enemy," he'd say. That fear had to do with the fact that some promoters were scared about possible violence at shows. A few rap concerts had violence break out, and there was some concern that putting a typically white audience of Sisters of Mercy with Public Enemy's audience could result in problems. As a result, the promoters either flat out said no, while those who agreed to book the tour couldn't book them for inner city venues because some cities and towns wouldn't issue a permit for the show once the bill was revealed. In reality, there really weren't any problems with violence on the tour. As a result, some of the shows that did go ahead were held on the outskirts of many cities. Another factor that was working against the tour was that the bill was just too diverse for some audiences. Unlike Lollapalooza, this tour took place in a more intimate venue, and at a show in Washington, D.C., a city where Sisters of Mercy previously played to 3,300 people by themselves, and Public Enemy played to nearly 18,000, the joint tour only mustered an audience of 1,100. The Christian Science Monitor also highlighted one show in Costa Mesa, California, that only had 4,000 attendees at a venue whose capacity was 19,000. Eldritch would claim, and I quote, "If the promoters had the balls to advertise it in urban areas and not just book it in every suburban area just to make sure everyone was 300% safe, it wouldn't have just done better business than everyone else except Jane's Addiction. It would have done extraordinarily good business," he'd say. But it wasn't just a lack of ticket sales or poor venue choices that worked against the tour, but the lack of record label support as well. Elektra, Sisters of Mercy's label, wasn't on board with the idea either. According to Eldritch, who spoke to Under the Radar in 2012, he would say, "We had a big problem with Elektra, our record company at the time. They said, that's never going to work. You're just a bit too white, and they're just a bit too black." The tour was fraught with so many problems and low ticket sales that it would be canceled halfway through, with major cities like Houston, Dallas, Denver, Phoenix, and Los Angeles having their dates scrapped. It wasn't just music fans who rejected the tour, as the media was pretty harsh too. The July 14th, 1991 edition of the Chicago Tribune would write, "The result was a fascinating cultural event and a frustrating concert in which the group's disparities become more apparent than any shared bond," they'd write. A year after the tour concluded, Eldritch would appear on MTV and blamed American audiences for the tour's failure, as he said here.
"I thought it might be an interesting kind of thing. Unfortunately, it was too interesting for America. America's got a big problem with anything interesting, particularly when it's black and white. Our record company really hated the idea of Public Enemy, so it didn't go as well as it might have done."
That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. We'll see you again on Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.